Welcome everyone. Simulation 171. Let me see if this one works because it's a little dark in here today and I have the light. Oh. I think this should give us some light. Is this better? A little better. There we go. It's too much light. Better than nothing. Try to put it over here. Oh man. Moving around, I'm telling you, is a hoot, as they say. Okay, this is good. Welcome everybody. This is a little weird, but okay, we'll just keep it that way. And it gives these weird waves thingies. Do you guys see this, or only I see it on TikTok? The weird waves thingies. Weird. Welcome to Simulation Talk 171. I'm Danny Goller, and I'm claiming to have found proof that we live in simulation would devote these lives for the conversations around the subject, as well as broader subjects like science in general, religion, spirituality, philosophy, God, whatever really we feel like. Welcome to the entire community. Ebony, so good to see you. My Brighton, Igor is here. Owl, my brother. Chris, how you doing, my man? So good to see you. Smash that like button indeed. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here and for being part of this community. Nico the man. How are you, my brother? So good to see you. Thank you so much for the love. Hey, Nico, do you see these weird wave thingies? I think it has something to do with the frequency of the light. Tidal gifter. Thank you, Nico. Thank you for the roses. I feel very courted. Carter is in the house. How you doing, brother? You're always quiet, and then I don't know that you're there. But I'm glad you don't, because I have these weird wave thingies happening. Maybe if I can... Hold on, this is way too much. So can I change the temperature on this? Oh, man. This is weird. Okay. We'll just keep it like this. We'll keep it like this. It's good enough. Casey's in the house. Wow, all the OGs. Marcus Ria is saying I can manifest orbs when on spirit molecules sent on messenger video to you, but you never looked. I never check my social media stuff, guys. Apologies. So if I don't see it ever, that might be the case. If you actually want me to see it, please send it to my email, lasersimulationx@gmail.com. I cannot check all the social media stuff because there's just too many things. There's Reddit and X and Messenger and Instagram and TikTok and Schmicktalk, and I'm barely keeping up with Discord that is not growing, and I'm really enjoying it. And Telegram, I cannot check all these social media stuff, guys. So email, I will see what you're trying to send me. lasersimulationx@gmail.com. I would love to see it. Mark, how are you? Casey's coming on. How you doing, my brother?
I'm doing really good. How are you?
I'm doing amazing. Let me turn you up a little bit so other people can hear you. There we go. Okay, let me write my email real quick. Also, you can always go to codeofreality.com, and my email is listed there as well, codeofreality.com, but I will write it right now. Laser simulation x@gmail.com. I don't even know if it's not going to... Yes, I think this is correct. So there you go. That's the email. Yeah, there you go. Like a scrolling... Yeah, I think it stopped now. The weird scrolling. How are you, man?
Ready?
Are
you ready to hear what I got going on?
Yeah, the experiment, you mean?
Yeah. Okay. So what it is that the equation, it did have something going on with it, and what I have AI doing is creating a diffracted 650 nanowatt diffracted laser pattern, and it's using it's encoding stuff into the laser pattern.
Okay, hold on. I gotta understand what you're doing step by step, because that sounds insanely amazing. How is AI doing that? Just by understanding what you told it, and then
now by using the equation. The equation had certain aspects to it that we applied, and so what we have going on is, let me see here. We've got so.
What's up, Simon? What's up, Sofa King? Good to see you guys.
So it sets up. It generates a 650 nanowatt red laser image. So within that image,
nanometers. Yeah. Okay. Just so people don't get confused. Yeah.
Okay. So I'll have to send you pictures. So you
can sure. No, I'm listening. That's how I listen with a lot of attention when I close my eyes. Go ahead.
Yeah. So that's a primary layer. Then the secondary layer, it applies a Fourier-based frequency space encoding for symbolic emergence. And then the tertiary layer is a quantum harmonic patterns buried beneath for deeper interaction testing.
Define tertiary, I can never pronounce that word, tertiary layer. Define it for me in this context.
So like instead of, you'll see a second depth layer going on.
Okay.
Yeah. And so the laser was used to project encoded diffraction grids. Structured patterns were developed based on recursive fractal geometries and harmonic resonances. And so what happens is you start seeing encoded grids in a normal state. But then once you get the molecule in you, you'll start seeing the Fourier transformations and encoded fields start appearing. And so long story short, what happens is step by step, we took it from, okay, first I see the toroidal structures, then we created a new one and applied these different Fourier, these quantum things to it or whatever, encoding. And by that, where I'm at now is I can see the multi-toroidal objects with symbols appearing in it, and then underneath it, a whole nother layer of the Fourier transformation, which is like the fractal patterns and stuff. Is wild.
Okay. So now let's, first of all, somebody who's just joining the chat probably thinks, what is this, Bashar too? That's what Bashar must feel like. How does it go?
Yeah.
In your reality, the Fourier transform is in fact your own hair. Okay. No, because I have a few questions. So, okay, because I'm really trying to understand what you're saying. So, what is doing the encoding exactly? The sounds?
The math.
No. But what is doing the writing? Like, what is encoded into what? Into the actual code that you see in the laser?
So, okay, so.
And yes, Mushroom, we'll get to what the equation is in a moment. We'll get there step by step. Go ahead.
So it simulates in a square 2D picture the
ChatGPT.
Was that
ChatGPT?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it simulates it in a square picture. Let me get to one of them so I can describe it better. One second. Okay.
Joanna, we'll get there step by step. Nobody gets scattered. Everybody, stay calm.
So on one side, it generates two images. On the left is a red with speckles going on in it. And that's the higher dimensional interactive toroidal field.
No, hold on. Why is that a toroidal structure?
Because I don't know. It's applying some math to it. I don't know all the detail. I'd have to read it.
Do you want me to just kind of like listen to it, or do you? Because I want to make sense for this for people as well.
Yeah, no, totally.
Okay, so you said correct me where I'm getting it wrong. You said that ChatGPT, no matter how right now, this doesn't matter right now, but you did something. You put it through some kind of a process. There's a protocol that you've developed, let's say, and then you have, when you asked it something, it gave you two pictures. One on the left, this is what you said, and I'm trying to understand what that means. You said it's a speckle, and then you said toroidal structure. Those are two different things. How does it look like a toroidal structure that emerges from the speckle? Is that what you mean?
I'll
Okay.
It explains it, so.
You're going to send it to me?
In the latest one, on the left side, this laser diffraction picture is
You have your own.
it calls it a higher dimensional interactive toroidal field with symbolic.
I don't know what that means.
Well, okay, I'll go back up so you get what it means. Meow. So, going back to an earlier part, the previous part of the experiment, whatever. Oh, I gotta go a little bit higher. Sorry.
Yeah, hit the like button, guys. I appreciate it. In the meanwhile, so anybody who's just joining and has no idea what's going on here, Casey here is running the experiments that I'm proposing. If you don't know what these experiments are, then we're going to have to take you way back. But for now, if you're aware of what I'm proposing in general, Casey's running these experiments live and has been doing so quite a few lives in a row now, which is awesome and people love it. So that's what's happening now. And Casey's trying to describe to me this extra thing that he just developed that I'm not aware of, that I'm also trying to make sense of. So if you're a little confused, don't worry, we're going to get there.
So it's pretty long. It's pretty long to go through the whole thing, but
you don't need to go through the whole thing. I'm just trying to envision what you're telling me. So where I get stuck is when you're telling me the left picture that the ChatGPT produces is speckled with toroidal structure. What does that mean?
I can send you a quick pic if you want.
Please.
Okay, cool.
Bashar is trying to give you two lines of thought at the same time, and he's trying to bring both thoughts together. But it might be because English is not his first language. Bashar does not appreciate you making fun of him. I am Bashar. I'm communicating through Danny now. Let's be confused together. And yeah, Carter, I'm on it. Who is asking the question? Is that a good Bashar? Okay, Casey, send me a picture. 1 second, guys. I'm going to pull it up. Wait a second. That's a dick pic. No, I'm kidding. Okay, hold on. Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, got it. So what I'm looking at, let me see if I can, I think that YouTube, you tell me if you see this. Hold on. Wait, how do I pull it up? I don't know where I pull it up.
Oh, yeah, you did that once before.
Yeah, I did it before. Let's see if we can do it again. I'm just going to move so it's not blocking itself. Okay, tell me, YouTube, if you see it. I think TikTok for sure can see it, right? Wait, no, there's a glare. Let me see. There's a glare. There you go. Okay. There we go. Okay, so TikTok can see it. Can YouTube see that what TikTok can see? I can.
A little higher for YouTube.
Higher.
Take your phone higher.
Like this?
Like raise it, elevate it more and more.
No, but then I'm not going to see the images.
It's because your laptop's angled and then it's not on the.
So maybe like this? Like this?
YouTube's connecting the top end of your phone.
Like this?
The whole phone's length up.
What?
Yeah, like that. Almost
okay.
at it.
All right.
More.
So essentially what we're looking at is just a grid that kind of has like this speckled diffraction pattern. And it kind of creates... Well, I see what you say. What happened? Okay, hold on. Let me bring it back to me seeing that. And what we're seeing is essentially... one of them creates basically this shape, kind of like a diamond shape thing. I wouldn't call it a toroidal thing, but that basically almost like a diamond shape, right? That's kind of like this thing. So this is through the equation.
Okay, so yeah, this is like in the early step of it. So on the far side is just standard diffraction pattern that it generates.
Mm-hmm.
Then the middle one, it's now got encoded information in it.
Okay.
And then on the right, the little purple thing, that is a what they call a Fourier transform. I'm not too clear what those are, but it's basically what is generating it. It's like a quantum.
But it seems like nothing is.
Right. So then you do the molecule. and you start looking at that encoded one, and lo and behold, geometry start occurring and movement. It started with pulsing and like kind of like energy flow, and so it said, okay, good. That was what we're expecting because of the way we did this. So fast forward, we kept going through stages of applying more and more until the final one that I'm on right now, which was adding the harmonic stuff and the three things. And so now it's at the point where, you know how when you're looking at the code and you can't really focus on one of the little symbols, it's gotten to where you can hold the symbols and keep it, and then start interacting with it too.
So let me try and fill people in real quick. Okay, so first of all, this is what the one Casey's referring to on the right is this one, which essentially just shows an empty grid with a pointer in the middle. I don't think it's anything. And you're saying, yeah, right. And then you're saying on a molecule, you start seeing. So just to explain what the Fourier transform is, Fourier transform is a very clever.
I'm alive again.
Huh?
Go ahead. I was talking to my wife.
Oh, okay. So just to explain what Fourier transform is real quick. Fourier transform is a very, very nifty mathematical. Well, it's not a trick. It's basically a mathematical way to discern what kind of wave gave rise to the wave that you're analyzing. So if you have a wave, any wave, and what I mean by wave, literally like you see like a sine wave, you don't need a Fourier transform because it's just a sine wave and just what it is. But there's complex waves, which means that they basically go like, you know, like in the heart monitor, right? So you have like a wave, and then it goes not just boop, 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 but it actually has like a lot of peaks and valleys. So it kind of goes like, that's a complex wave. A complex wave is usually a combination of many waves. As you know, that if two waves come together, they can interfere destructively or constructively. If they interfere with one another at the same peak, they will amplify one another, and it would be basically the addition between those two waves. If one wave is this high and another wave is this high, if they're going to exactly combine here, the wave that will be created from both of them will literally be this high. There will be a combination of the two. If there's a wave and a valley, so like the opposite of a wave, it will cancel each other out. So it's simple arithmetic. Complex waves are basically a wave made out of a lot of different waves meshed together, like all sent at the same time, and it's like one thing that was created from it. The Fourier transform is a mathematical way to discern. We can do this, which is kind of crazy. It is a pretty like complicated calculation, but the way to do it, like ultimately through the Fourier transform, is just you punch in the numbers, you punch in the waves, you somehow reverse engineer which waves were involved in making the complex wave happen. So is that clear? It's pretty clear, right? So you have a complex wave. The way to understand what waves made it happen, you run it through the Fourier transform and you get the separate waves that made it happen. That's what the Fourier transform is. The relevance of this to this would be that what Casey is saying, that after he created the object with the protocol that he created, it went from a regular grid to some kind of a coherent geometrical shape. To the naked eye, with no any addition, it looks like just like a nice, beautiful diamond-shaped thingy. Okay. Then when he ran it through the Fourier transform, it's supposed to show him what were the waves that were put into play in order to make this thing happen. So basically untether them. But in our illustration, it looks like what it's showing him is there were no waves that were made to make this happen. Now, there's to steelman the regular argument would be, the simple explanation is that that's not a wave. So what the software is telling you, I don't see waves to analyze. It's not a wave, it's something else. But what Casey is saying is that after you smoke the molecule, this grid that seems to be empty all of a sudden shows patterns. It's almost like the Fourier transform did show us something, but it was invisible to the naked eye until you can actually be on the molecule. Now, it is interesting. The question with the way to test this would be, can you just create an empty grid like this, like just create one without running any equations, anything like this, just make an empty screen just like you had on the right before, and then smoke and see if you still see it, because then it's just there, or somehow your brain produces it from that, or maybe it's even there. I'm open to that, but then it not doesn't necessarily mean that it's telling you what happened through your process, because that's the way to test that. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's how it started out at the beginning with nothing. It was the more information that was put into it, the more that developed, and the more I could interact with it. The more I could, depending on what was put into it, the interaction became more and more what I was able to change it as I saw it.
Okay.
Like it would, my breath would affect it.
So just Carter, can we talk about what we're trying to achieve, or you think it's too early? I'll wait for Carter to respond. And this is not like, just so everybody understands, if Carter says it's too early, it's not a secret. It's just it might be too early to say anything because we might not have enough things in place to even talk about. But let's see what he responds with. Okay, I'll wait for Carter to respond. In any case, this either what we're doing now, or either way, soon enough, I guess, there will be a way to, for anybody who has this kind of a incredible contribution, because Casey's been coming here. He started from just, coming and just listening to the lives. Then he became an integral part of this community, and he would come on every day and we would chat, and it's amazing. Awesome dude. We became friends, but also he started doing this thing live, and he took it upon himself to kind of start figuring things out, which I'm noticing more and more people are really interested in doing. And there's a lot of brilliant people in the world, and there's quite a few of them here today and on a regular basis here. Too early. I feel like we need to write Mandelbrot configuration first, which is, I think, is okay. So a little bit too early, but to say about what we're doing specifically. But the general gist of it is, very soon, that way or another, we will have some more reliable way for people to just basically, tell the website, the system, like what exactly that you're doing, and it will help to verify. Will clock that it's you that had this idea. Everything that I'm kind of trying to do, or we're trying to do manually, essentially, I'm in the habit of telling people, hey, if what's your name, this sounds like a good idea. If it's like a new person, and please email me with your name, because if it pans out, I want to make sure you get the credit, because I do see this whole thing as literally a worldwide lab. Like, we're all one lab. We're all exchanging ideas. We all have good ideas, and we put them to the test. Most ideas don't work, by the way. That's how it's difficult to make progress. But this thing that I was trying to do manually, we're trying to figure out a way to automate this whole process. And then if we can achieve that, then everybody can kind of chime in and say what they came up with, and they will literally have, if it pans out, they have a major discovery on their hands automatically. It's theirs. They figured it out. It's their idea. Nobody else can ever claim it, and that's the idea, that we'll all get to participate in this, which is an incredible thing, I think, to strive for. That being said, regardless, because I'm going to be seeing you soon, I would love to kind of walk through this. Yeah, and like get the. No, I understand what you're saying. I see holes in it, and I don't know if the holes are real, because I need to know exactly how you achieved this first state. I understand what you said. I understand everything you said. Yeah, we just need to see the steps, basically. Hold on. You think there's value in chatting about finding the right Mandelbrot configuration? Yeah. So I'll bring it up in a moment. 1 second.
The key that made this happen was that equation. That's what.
Remind me what the equation. I know you told me. I am aware of that, but tell me again what the equation is.
Every step of the way, I kept checking with it, like going, now, what we're doing here, is this based on the equation? They said yes. It's because of this, and this in that equation that's what we're using, which I found interesting. And then another fun thing, a little woo-woo thing, is at the bottom of the equation, there's the big numbers, 2024 AD. I was like, oh, that's when I started messing with this thing. Nice.
I love Simon's humor. He's like, do you feel transformed when you walk through a foyer? That's funny. Foyer transformation. Yeah, any of y'all seen a wavicle? They're not really wavicles. I think that whoever they are really want us to figure this out. Yeah, they do. That's the mega puzzle, isn't it? Okay, so I'm going to throw you some guys some fun ideas, and we can think about them.
I'm gonna mute it because I'm hissing on your phone.
Stop hissing on my phone, bruh. Also, I saw the email about the orbs. I will look at it first thing tomorrow morning. I never check them at night because it takes me far afield. I get if it's really interesting, I'm gonna get obsessive and I'm not gonna sleep. So I'm gonna look at it tomorrow morning. But saw the email. So okay, let's take it by order. We have a lot of things to attend to. First of all, we have Violet was a newcomer. She's saying first time on here. Can you give me a brief recap on what you are discussing? Absolutely, Violet. Thank you for letting us know. Violet, Willow, Moon. You got it, Marcus. On this channel, we're mostly talking about the simulation. I was in the habit of saying hypothesis, but then I realized it's not. I'm not actually discussing hypotheses here. I mean, we have a lot of ideas about what it is, but I'm claiming that I have discovered a few years ago a way to probe into the fact that we in fact live in a computational environment, and I've proposed a simple experiment in which you project a diffracted laser on the surface, and at least in the moment, hopefully very soon we're going to be able to say that you don't have to do that, but at least in the moment, as far as I know for sure, you do need to ingest the spirit molecule, and then you will see code running in surfaces. I've been vocal about this discovery for a few years now. We're working on a documentary. I got entangled with a few leading scientists in the field. We are in the middle of a back and forth. This is getting traction, and this is why we're meeting here on a regular basis to discuss this phenomena, this experiment. This is what Casey was doing right now live. We recently discovered that this code somehow responds to magnets, which is kind of interesting. So there's a lot to cover, but this is the gist of what we're doing. And if you want to really know deeply, I have a bunch of videos on my channel that talk about, on TikTok, they're much shorter, obviously, but if you want to know more, you should go check out my YouTube channel, Dango Thoughts, DANGO Thoughts, and you'll see the longer versions videos, including the trailer for the film and all that stuff. They'll give you a good idea of what we're doing here. Hope this is a good recap. Second thing on the agenda. What Carter is alluding to, what's not a wavicle, this thing that sometimes tongue-in-cheek scientists call a wavicle, not a particle, not a wave. It's also not a wavicle. It's also not a combination of them two. It's just some kind of a state that we don't quite understand. That's what I meant. Took a while, but I believe I figured out what I was looking for towards the end. But it was wearing off by then. I will do another attempt. Oh, wait, this is like a trip report. Okay, so actually the greatest weapon, if you don't mind also filling out the report on the website, they're extremely valuable. We are utilizing them. They're very, very important. So if you don't mind, even now, before you saw anything, let me see what you said here. Another turn, if you'll know what to look for. Yeah, and look for my troubleshoot video on my YouTube channel. Well, you are on YouTube, so I think it's the one before the last one. It's what you have a. It says what it says. It's a quantum object, right? But that's just a word. Like we don't actually have a good intuition of intuiting what it is, what that means. What's up, Julian? Okay, I will give you this. Definitely, thank you so much. The greatest weapon. So what we've been recently working on, because one of my visions was regarding, well, for a long time I was very interested, since I was a little kid really, in the Mandelbrot set. And as fate would have it, what I saw is that the way that the simulators, for lack of a better term, they're essentially, the way they're automating infinite worlds, I spoke about this before, but the way they're automating infinite number of worlds is that they're basically running some kind of, I don't know what to call it, but well, they run some kind of an execution of a software that is tethered to some regularities in the Mandelbrot set. So it's not like the world's evolving on the Mandelbrot set, but think of the Mandelbrot set. If you don't know what the Mandelbrot set is, you should just Google it because there's infinite number of videos on it. If you don't know, you should by now. MAND, let's see how my dyslexia does, EBROT. I think. Mandelbrot set, M-A-N, starts with M-A-N. It's a fractal. It's one of the most famous fractals, if not the most famous fractal. Basically, this thing that kind of looks like a beetle. So don't think that what I'm saying is that the worlds evolve on top of the Mandelbrot set. They're not. They're evolved from some coherent logic that arises from the evolution of the Mandelbrot set along its shoreline specifically. What exact parameters? Well, that's the question. They showed me that it is the case that they're doing it, but they didn't show me how, which is a fun puzzle. So the reason I'm voicing it is because, and I agree with Carter, this might be a good idea to kind of put it into the world lab that we are, especially if you have background in mathematics or advanced topology or fractals, or really software development. This can be a fun thing to tackle, because if we can crack that one, we kind of have the same key that the simulators would have, and it will not belong to anyone but the people, literally, because we're just gonna say what it is. And essentially what we're looking for is some set of parameters arising from the Mandelbrot set that when you plug them into some computational trajectory, they're supposed to not just give rise to a coherent environment, but to what is clear infinite potential of environment. So like it will keep unfolding. One of the things I'm thinking is that the Mandelbrot set might be almost like the mother logic shape, and then whatever we derive from it, whatever, I don't know what it is, but whatever they derive from it to make it happen is almost like a key. So if the Mandelbrot sits like this, visually what it would look like in my intuitive hypothesis is that if the Mandelbrot sits like this, if you plot on the z-axis what is it that we want to use as the parameters that potentially give rise to all the possible worlds, it will create some kind of a shape on the z-axis that is very interesting. And that's a tricky concept. I'm aware of that, because I don't really know what would constitute interesting. As far as I can tell right now, and this is something I told Carter, and I know he finds it very unsatisfying, and I I understand, but it's the best I can say at the moment is when we'll see it, we'll know it. Like if we see that thing, it's almost like because our consciousness is evolving in this space, from that space, it's almost like it would be able to automatically recognize the key to give rise to it. So because we are in that world, if we see that whatever key that is arising in the z-axis from the Mandelbrot set, our brain will automatically go, whoa, what is that? That's interesting. What is that? Like it will recognize something that is unique. A good example of this, I said it today, is actually the Mandelbrot set itself. Because even if you don't know anything about mathematics, if you don't know anything about anything, you just you grew up with the wolves and you've never seen nothing. Okay. If you would see the Mandelbrot set on a paper, on a screen, your brain will automatically say, whoa, what's that? That's so interesting. So it's like that. It should be like that. And obviously, this is a very tall order. I have no idea how they do it. And this is like a big key of some sort. But if anybody has any hints or of even how to approach the problem or how to create logical iteration that might yield fruit, this will be extremely valuable. So putting it out there, if something is not clear, which I'm sure quite a few things are not clear, feel free to ask me and we can talk about it. 8D, I don't think you need 8D, Simon. You're talking about E8, right? I don't think we need to go quite that far. It seems to be super simple. It might give rise to higher dimensional objects, but at the moment, it seems like there's no need for all of that. Ask AI, ChatGPT. Yeah, of course, we're trying to work with it, but it won't know that because literally it does not exist in the world schema that we have at the moment. AD is pixelated. That's very funny. Fractals and disordered system memories. I don't know why disordered. Fractals are very ordered. They're, in fact, you can say the fractals are the most ordered. You're talking about chaos as a concept? Mandelbrot's almond bread. Still learned a lot this week since doing it. Been learning about toroids and morphic fields and resonance. I saw was in a toroid. It was beautiful. So I think today's theme is toroidal structures. Mendel like. Thank you, Simon. I think actually you would have some fun ideas there. The idea is to stay simple, not to scatter. Stay simple. It's very difficult to do. It's very tempting to keep trying to go into like, but what if this and the 26 dimensions, this and that? Simple. What is it? It's hard because it's kind of like, in a video game, usually you have a lot of options to keep you interested, right? So you don't have one thing to do. Everything is kind of like moving, and because the game developers don't want you to get bored. But I don't know if you remember in the old days when you had these like quest games, right? Not even RPG. I'm talking about the quest games where you have to show up in a place and there's like a bunch of items and you have to somehow use this item. You have to use the rope to tie it over the thing and then climb on the thing. You have to find the right objects in the right order, and only then you can exit the room. And sometimes in some of these quest games, I can't think of one at the moment. Was it like Monkey Island or something? It was like one of the big ones. And there was a situation, and sometimes in these games, there was a situation where you're in a room and you're literally in this room forever. And you're like, dude, I don't know. What am I supposed to do? It's like this. You don't get to exit the room until you figure out the simple thing. And the brain will constantly try to do all these like extravagant things like, yeah, but let's try and combine it with the world economy, and like no, none of that. Simple. What is it in the Mandelbrot set? Then when you run a computation on it, I'll give you an example. Maybe this is something we're trying to do right now. If you combine some 3 evolving parameters from the Mandelbrot set and you map them onto a 3-dimensional axis space, so XYZ, are there any parameters that when you do that to the mapping, all of a sudden the mapping starts creating interesting environments? That's one example. It doesn't have to be that. It can be something else that we're trying. There's a really interesting episode that Veritasium did on it, Derek, on the Mandelbrot set. I highly recommend you guys watch it. I can maybe pull it up and share it on YouTube. But essentially, we watched it with the members one time. But I highly recommend for anybody to watch it, because let me do it now because I will forget. Hold on. There they map the bifurcation pattern that occurs everywhere in nature, from the way that our heart beats to, well, really any chaotic system. The definition of chaotic system is when it becomes unpredictable. So basically, population growth, stream of water, and really anything, formation of galaxies. And that pattern, this fractal of the bifurcation, is actually part of the Mandelbrot set. And they mapped it on the z-axis of the Mandelbrot set to show it, and it's really interesting. So it might be something like that, but it needs to be this simple, because the Mandelbrot set equation is super simple. It's just take some number, square it, add something to it. Take the result, put it back into the equation. This new number, square it, add something to it. The only thing is that you're adding a complex number to it. So not a regular number, but a number that represents a coordinate on a 2-dimensional grid. Okay. If you don't know any math, all this means is that the equation that gives rise to this beautiful beetle-like shape is one of the simplest equations in existence, and nobody's adding anything else to it but that, and somehow this is the map of stability that arises. You take a number, 3. 3 times 3, you square it, it's 9. Plus, let's say 2. Okay, and you always keep the same parameter, by the way. If you said plus 2, okay, now it's plus 2. So 3 times 3, 9. Oh, sorry, you always, apologies. With the Mandelbrot set, you always start from 0, always. So if I picked 3, that would be the plus. So it would be 0, right? So 0 times 0 is 0. So then the first time you added the number, it will be the first number. So it would be 3. So now we're putting it back into the equation, and we're saying, okay, now the first number is 3. It's no longer 0 because now we're using the result of the equation back into the number. So now it's 3. 3 times 3 is 9. Plus 3 is now 11. Put it back. 120, 11 times 11, 121. Plus 3, 124. Now you put that in. And so you go, right? Now, any number above 1 will blow up into infinity. It's simply not part of the set. 1 will keep staying in one spot because 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 means 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. You always stay in the same spot. Anything under 1 will keep growing into infinitely small, so into the set. Anything from under -1 will do the same, go into infinity, and anything above -1 will stay in the set. Now, what's interesting is that when you change the C's, it will produce basically that simple equation shows you that if you want to see where these parameters stay stable, like within the region that we defined, versus going into infinity, it looks like the Mandelbrot set. That's what it really is. And again, there's wonderful videos online to kind of talk about this. The reason I'm recapitulating it to some degree is because it's both visually gorgeous, but also I'm now of the opinion that it is truly how the infinite world set evolves, and it will be really interesting to try and crack that problem. And if you guys have specific questions, please feel free to either ask now or email me about it. There's no problem. Oh, and Laszlo is in the house. Yeah, brother, I'm kind of trying to define the problem that Laszlo has been working here, trying to crack this together with me and Carter, and he created this beautiful environment in which we can try and actually execute all of that. But any mind power around this would be incredible to add to the project. Laszlo is basically working on executing it as on the actual three-dimensional environment. Laszlo is a VR expert and a game award-winning game developer, and feel very, very, very honored that you're on the team, brother. Okay. Makes me think of the observer effect. Particle acts different when it's being observed. How does that connect for you? I would love to know. How are you, Laszlo? Time is an iteration rather than a line. Chaos arises from compounding. Chaos does not always arise from compounding. Chaos arises from a particular number of parameters that goes through when it goes through phase transition. I don't know why I spaced on that. It becomes basically impossible to calculate. So it's computationally intractable. Even in principle, you can never calculate it. That's the definition of chaos. So even if you run the most powerful computer in the world, or even the most powerful computer that you can ever make in the universe, and you run it for Googleplex years or really to infinity, you will still not be able to know what would be the result of the next step. That's the definition of a chaotic system. How are you, Nicole? Good to have you with us. What was believed to be unexplainable? No. The definition of a chaotic system is that it's in principle not unexplainable. It is intractable. So, for example, if you're trying to calculate the trajectory of a drop of water inside of a kettle, you can do it in the beginning to some degree because you can kind of calculate that it would start on the bottom or somewhere where it was, and then you heat it up, and then it would go like this, and there would be a convection pattern, right? It will go up and then it will cool down, it will go down, and it will heat up again and go up. And you can kind of calculate like what, there's a limited space where it can kind of move. Let's say you dyed it blue or something, so you can kind of track it in some form, or a computer can track it. The second the water starts boiling, the boiling of water is defined as a chaotic system. This means that even if you're gonna transform all the atoms in existence into compute power, and you're gonna run it forever, it will still not be able to tell you where and we can prove this, by the way. So that is the definition of a chaotic system. But we use other parameters in chaos theory called strange attractors, which are kind of like, I always define them as like kind of like the tethering factor. Like, you know that there's a high, statistically significant enough of a probability that whatever it is the chaotic system is doing is going to be doing it within these parameters, and that these strange attractors help you kind of guide the process and understand that it will always going to stay there. So I always equate it to kind of like if you have mosquitoes around a lamp, the trajectory of the mosquitoes is chaotic. You will never be able to calculate it. It's based on too many parameters. Not because you don't have enough tools to do it, but simply in principle it's impossible. But you can calculate the probability of how far from the lamp the mosquitoes will be at any given time. And the swarm of the mosquitoes and the volume of the swarm will be the equivalent of telling you where is the influence of the strange attractor. That'll be like the simplest explanation of that. You're quantifying it with math and science, acknowledging there are things that can't be proven. Yeah, so essentially, in pure math, a similar problem would be P versus non-P. So or that's actually computational, right? But yeah, that's essentially what it is. Irreducibly complex. That's a really good way of putting it. Exactly. The more people brain power on this, the better. This literally going to require the human mind's compute. Chaos is a beautiful thing. Unscrewing My Life is saying chaos theory explores systems that are deterministic, meaning their behavior is governed by fixed rules, no randomness involved, yet they can exhibit seemingly random and unpredictable behavior. Right. I mean, it doesn't have to be. It's surprising that within seemingly controlled environments, you have things that become unpredictable. Yes, you're right that it's surprising, but chaos theory is not limited to just deterministic systems. Let alone forget about the fact that there are no deterministic systems for anything inside of existence itself. So you don't really have, like, everything ultimately has to be deterministic because it's self-contained by definition. But for any single unit within existence, however big you want to define it, for all intents and purposes, it is not deterministic, because you simply cannot, even in principle, just like in chaos theory, that you see, there simply cannot predict these trajectories. They're outside of your ability to ever do, as long as you're in one of the world lines. Wolfram's work shows how the observer can potentially be aware of all the trajectories, and for it will be deterministic. But I think we're entering a territory there of, even there, the acknowledgement is that you simply, anyone in a world line experiencing the manifold from the inside, you simply cannot be outside of the manifold looking from the outside, so to speak. It's just not a possibility. There's a lot of ways in physics, classical physics, in which people are trying to reconcile these ideas, like hidden variables is an attempt of that, in which people postulating that there's always some hidden variables, some external components that will be forever receding from us, and they would be responsible for the actual logic of the determinism of the ultimate system. The problem with that, as pointed out by many other physicists, it is really it's not a provable proposition, because if you're postulating it will always be outside of your ability to perceive it, then what is the point of that proposition, in physics at least? But that's a good comment. It's a good thread to pull on. Great conversation. Well, thank you so much. Another true thing that Unsquaring My Life is saying, a hallmark of chaotic systems is their extreme sensitivity to initial conditions, i.e. the butterfly effect. Tiny imperceptible changes in this starting point can lead to vastly different outcomes. Butterfly effect, exactly. And yeah, that would actually be one of them. Another very interesting one, there's one called the Lorentz attractor, and it's actually kind of shaped like a butterfly, the trajectory of it. You can look it up, Lorentz attractor, chaos theory Lorentz attractor, you'll see it right away. And it states, this is one of the strange attractors, so it's one of the laws of the chaotic world, which is that nothing can ever repeat again the same way, even in principle. That's a hard one. That's a hard one to swallow. So like nothing can ever happen twice exactly in the same way, ever, as a principle. Like you cannot have that, ever. In fact, in the Mandelbrot set, it's presented by the fact that none of the, as you guys know, because it's a fractal, but it's a chaotic fractal, you have all the little beetles, the little bulbs that kind of pop off the main beetle. They all look like the original beetle, but if you look closely, none of them is exactly the same. Not one, ever. It's exemplified by that. Another thing that one of the ways in which they're kind of trying to put this to the test, there's a software somewhere, I don't remember where at this point, I read this book a long time ago by I think Max Gleich, I think his name is. It's a chaos. You just look it up. It's one of the most famous books about chaos for the layman. And there's this software running somewhere that basically proves tests the Lorentz attractor. And what it does is it basically, there's two softwares running at once. One, all it's doing is it said it has a semi-randomizing engine, because there's no actual randomizing engine, but it has a semi-randomizing engine, and it tells it throw a pixel randomly on the screen somewhere. Doesn't matter. Just the only command is it has to be random. Okay. Now, because the screen has finite number of pixels, obviously after long enough, just by the fact that even if the first software wanted to throw the pixel like here, but not exactly here, it wanted to throw it like right next to it or something, but it can't, because of the limitation of the screen, because the screen has a limited number of pixels. So there's another software running alongside of it that constantly listens to the first software. Thank you, Aaron. And it says, it's really asking the first software, wait, did you mean this pixel, or did you mean like, if I would divide this pixel by 4, would you want to throw it like right in the middle? That's what you meant? Or did you mean to throw it like in the upper left quarter of it? And it would say, no, I actually meant in the upper left quarter. Okay, so you didn't actually want to throw it on that pixel. You wanted to throw it in some region that we couldn't divide the screen to physically. So then that second software essentially divides the screen to infinite number of pixels, because it will always ask it the question, hey, did you mean this pixel? Or if I divide it by 1,000, did you mean it here or here or here or here or here? And then it would say, no, I meant it there. So if I remember correctly, and you can verify, you can look it up, because I don't remember the exact numbers, but it's been running for decades. It has never, ever threw the same pixel in the same place, not once. And if you think about it, you were never in the same place. You were never the same person twice, never. Not one, like this instance and this instance, you're two different things. And somehow you keep coherence, of course, but the universe where you were born, right? We're moving through space and time and all of that stuff. So every second, from the second you're born, everything is moving. The galaxies are moving. The solar system is moving. Earth is moving. Even if you just sit in a chair like this your whole life, you would still be changing your coordinates constantly. Nothing can ever happen the same way twice. Which, by the way, is one of the things that breaks. Well, it doesn't really break, but it illustrates how ridiculous the idea of free will is. Because you would have to the idea of free will says, well, we're not going to get into it right now, but the general thing about free will, which is that it's the postulation that you could have done otherwise if you could go back there again. The thing is, you never could. It just happened how it did. And the idea that it could have happened again is the delusion of the human mind, and it can never happen again. So that's kind of, somehow we ended up with free will again, but, let's see. Join the data collection. Absolutely. Molecule, guys, I can't really help for the obvious reasons. It's a dicey thing, unfortunately, at the moment still. Maybe some things will change soon. Who knows? But at the moment, that's the one thing I can't help with. Everything else, knowledge, resources, understanding, what else? If somebody's serious about like conducting certain tests, doing certain things, doing our best to create a system as fast as possible, so as many people as possible can actually contribute. And again, the idea there is not to just take everybody's brain power and just to kind of, bring it into anybody in particular leverage. The idea is to truly create a decentralized system of knowledge that the credit goes to the person who uttered the idea, and nobody can take it away from them. I don't know if we can, there's a lot of ways to do this. Tokenize it. There's all kinds of ways. We don't know yet, but the idea is that it will belong to the person who uttered the idea. Nobody can take that away from them. Also, it will not belong to anyone. It will belong to everybody. That's the idea, that we're kind of working on this together, and automatically we are both gaining credibility and we're combining into something that is actually working around a common problem. That is, I would say, a very interesting problem. Julian is asking, couldn't chaos just be an ordered set that's too large or complicated for us to recognize it as an ordered pattern? Great question, Julian. The answer is a simple no, because then it will not be defined as a chaotic system. If the system is very complex, but we can prove mathematically that it has an answer that can be arrived at by a certain amount of computation, then it is not chaotic. And if it is, by definition, it's just the definition of chaotic. The definition of it's a technical term. It's not just messy or something like this. Chaos mathematics deals with chaotic systems. It means they are defined as a system that is intractable, even in principle. That is the definition of it. So yeah, that's a great question, though. It's a good distinction. So if we can prove that it's if you can prove, hold on, if you can prove that that it is somehow tractable at some point, given enough compute, it's no longer chaotic. I always recommend check out on YouTube, all one word, I make, and then the 3 letters of the molecule, or you can type in the name of the molecule TV. Those 2 things will get you to the right place. It should belong to Eric Peterson. Peterson, S-E-N at the end. I make the name of the molecule, or the name of the molecule TV. Okay? These 2 things, you can either find it on Facebook, I think, but mostly on YouTube. There's a lot of stuff that you can utilize. It matters if the overflown area is in a connection with calculable area. You're talking about manifolds, Daniel? Like topology? Or I'm misunderstanding you? Hey, Dan, has anyone ever told you that you bear a striking resemblance to Jesus Christ? Yeah, people tell me this all the time. My sister actually says, you know how if you ever watched Friends, how people used to say, like, oh, it was an episode. It was like, you have the Phoebe, like the haircut. My sister says I have the Jesus, the hairdo of Jesus, which is funny because I'm very, very far from being Jesus. No deja vu. You can never step in the same river twice, and you're not the same man or woman. Chaos by James Blake. There you go. Yeah. Yeah, this is my favorite book. Chaos. Glad you read it as well then. Yeah, it was a long time ago. The Anti-Groundhog Day. So it's like super new. No, I'm not myself. Trying to read your comments, guys, as quickly as I can. Oh, the Jesus from the Big Lebowski. That's even better. I mean, I'll take that. Just give me the Jesus. Exactly. Is it possible that transhumanists have already cracked this code? Who are the transhumanists? Who are they? I don't know who they are. And no, because otherwise we wouldn't be here talking about this in this way. I actually had an experience where I saw the meth code all over, similar to in the movie The Matrix. That's exactly what we're saying. So the whole thing, at least from what I saw here, and all I can do is report honestly from what I saw, existence unfolds into its space that it itself cannot inspect. I'm going to repeat it again. Reality unfolds into a space that it itself cannot inspect. That is the whole point. Because if everything would be known in advance, there would be no reason for it whatsoever. It would be not interesting. Call this what happens when you raise the collective conscious. I would agree with that. Thank you so much for the gifts, Aaron. I appreciate you. Inspect your reality. The theory is that they are keeping it secret for themselves, I guess. Yeah, I assure you there's way less secrets in this world than you realize. Which is kind of mind-boggling. It's mostly human incompetence and lack of knowledge is what you find almost in every single domain you enter. Okay, guys, today I will have to keep it short because I have a long day tomorrow. Oh, by the way, if you happen to be in the LA area, I will be giving a talk in the Conscious Life Expo. It's going to be in LA. My talk is going to be on Saturday. I feel very honored to have been invited to speak. I was invited by Paul Hynek, the CFO of the Monroe Institute, and it's the first time I'm ever doing something like this. So I don't know. I was kind of put in last second, so I don't know how many people would actually come to watch me, but it's awesome and an honor to be a part of this event. Actually, Bashar is going to be there, one of the main speakers, I think. I'm going to be giving my talk on Saturday in the morning, 10 a.m. If you happen to be in LA, please come check it out. That would be great. Also, I get to meet you in person and exchange some words, shake some hands. That would be great. And with that, I will have to leave you guys for tonight. If you want to follow me across platforms, it will be Danny Goller on TikTok and on Instagram. It will be Goller Danny on X. It will be LaserX83 on Twitch, LaserX83, and Dango Thoughts on YouTube. DANGO Thoughts. Dango Thoughts. YouTube also includes a membership program that includes Zoom calls with me, weekly lives in addition to the daily lives that are for members only, early access to all the content I'm putting out, and private stuff on my life. I know I owe you guys already a post. I have 3 ready to go. We were just like moving from place to place. It's not an excuse. It's my fault. I'm slacking. I know. It will be posted, I promise. And then it will be posted on a regular basis. So private stuff on my life that will only live on YouTube membership. Thank you for everybody for being participants and helping this community grow, all the people that are showing up here on a regular basis and making this what it is, as well as, of course, people who join the membership program, which helps me tremendously to focus on this more full time. Incredible people who donate their hard-won money and time. People like Ebony and like Ben and like Chris, Azamoon and Lovey Whittles that are helping with the Discord. Laszlo that is helping me tremendously with software development and like the environment stuff and like thinking about these things in a high level. Carter, love you, brother. Irv, who's making the lasers and creating an entire ecosystem behind the scenes. All the people that just kind of said, let's go, let's help. I deeply appreciate you. Ben, I think I mentioned you already before, Devin. And once in a while, by the way, anybody who's on any other platform, we have some other members who are sometimes gifting memberships to people. So it happens sometimes. So if you go on YouTube, which is the thing that I'm definitely promoting the most at the moment, sometimes you get just a membership as a gift. That happens as well. I deeply appreciate all the people that are doing that. Again, it's Ebony and it's Chris and it's Ben or Devin. I'll always call you Ben here. And Chris, I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for being so incredible and believing in the project. And I promise I will not disappoint. Again, I feel humbled and grateful. By the way, I had an idea, and you guys can tell me before we hop off. You can tell me what you think. Recently, we've been talking a little bit about. Chris just gifted people. I swear I wasn't prompting him to, but it happens. Chris, you're the man, brother. Thank you so much. Again, this is I don't know what to say. A question for you guys. I recently we've been talking a little bit about the gene keys. Some people are familiar, some people are not so familiar. What I was thinking, because we were talking about it, it kind of prompted me to go back, and I have the book. It's a very thick book over here, but I also have the audiobook. And because I've been driving a lot recently from place to place, Julian just joined as a member. Thank you so much for joining, Julian. I appreciate you. Welcome to the family. Please use the message that you see when it pops up. All the people that just became members. Look at the what says on the board. Email me with these exact instructions. Please don't change anything. Exactly how it says to do it. Because what happens is when you email me in that exact way with new members in the beginning, I get a special folder with all these people, and I can immediately see you, and I can just send you the necessary email. So please do that. Thank you so much, guys, for joining. So what I'm saying about the gene keys, it prompted me to re-listen to some of it. And one of the beautiful things about the gene keys is that you get to just listen to them wherever, either start listening from anywhere you want. The book even recommends you to do so, or you can just open it anywhere you want. It doesn't have to be read or listened to in any particular order. It's almost like part of the magic is actually to see where it's going to open for you. So the question for you guys obviously we're going to be talking about other things as well, because my brain is ADHD and we're going to be going all over the place. But would it be interesting for you guys to open up specific gene keys and then go through them and kind of analyze them? It's a very interesting. The one that I would recently just opened on is actually exactly in the middle, which was the 31st gene key. And I think the shadow was was it vanity? Something like that. Yeah, I think vanity or something like this. So it has to do humility. So the gene key of humility, which is an interesting one, because it's a shifty one, because even the people who are trying to kind of throw off the scent of themselves constantly, that's another form of vanity, essentially, but it's just like in a different way. So anyways, that's one example of what we can do as a conversation starter. And if it is interesting for you guys, we can do that. But I never want to do that unless it doesn't sound like it creates interest. So you don't have to answer now, but I want to plant this idea in your heads. And next time we chat, we can revisit this idea. And if you guys like it, we can kind of start the conversation there. And obviously it will evolve. Okay, so I think that's all the housekeeping I have. Thank you, Aaron, for one more gift. I appreciate you. Yes, people are saying yes. Amazing. All right, Carter. Check out what the gene keys are. Just search the gene keys. The gene, like the genes, like GENE. Gene keys. Look it up. And if you like what it is, we can kind of break it down a little bit. Most people are saying they like the idea. We'll revisit this next time and see if people still like the idea. And either way, these are just conversation starters. Eventually, obviously, we're going to drift into all kinds of conversations. So, love you all, guys. Thank you so much. See you tomorrow. Wait, am I going to see? Yeah, I'm going to try and stream one tomorrow. It's going to be a short one because I'm going to be streaming from the hotel where I'm going to be giving the talk in LA. So, thank you so much for being here. And yeah, peace and love. Ciao. See you, everyone. Have a good night. And I'll see you very soon.